Hello besties, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is one that literally left me with no words. If you believe the drama between Kody, Robyn, and the rest of Sister Wives was done, think again, because what just happened inside a Utah courtroom might be the biggest turning point in the entire saga. I've been covering this story for years, and my gut told me something was off when Kody started pushing back against Christine's post-divorce filings. But none of us saw this coming. Kody Brown supposedly being held in court during a custody hearing that went utterly off the rails. Now, before you assume this is some sort of miscommunication, let me just say this didn't happen out of nowhere. This has been simmering for months, under the radar. Behind all those manufactured smiles and reality television confessionals. And what is even more surprising, Christine and Meri, two women who haven't publicly spoken of each other in more than a year, are now connected by an enigmatic legacy file that could reveal all the Brown family attempted to keep under wraps. I know, it sounds crazy, but stay with me, because in this video we're diving deep into the court documents, the financial trail, and the hidden power struggle that may have led to Kody's alleged arrest right in front of the judge. Let's start from the beginning. You see, back in April of 2025, when Christine finalized the last of her financial settlements, something unusual appeared in the county filing system. A locked document titled Legacy Beneficiaries Agreement. Brown Family Holdings. The timing convenient. The intention unclear. And who are the names on that document? Christine and Meri Brown. Not Robyn, not Janelle. And certainly not Kody. So why would Christine and Meri, two ladies that Kody constantly insisted were out of the family, pop up on the very same legal paper mere months in advance of his financial disclosure hearing? That is where things begin to fall apart. Because from my sources, this legacy file wasn't solely about money. It was about ownership of land assets and possibly something even more powerful: evidence. Evidence that, once exposed, could have rewritten everything the public thought it knew about Kody's control over the Sister Wives empire. And the moment that evidence was about to be entered into the record, that's when everything in that courtroom went completely off the rails. So let's talk about what actually happened inside that courtroom. Because according to multiple public attendees, and I've now confirmed this with court-adjacent sources who spoke under condition of anonymity, Kody Brown didn't just show up angry. He showed up defensive, cornered, and honestly, sort of out of control. This was going to be routine pre-trial review, one of the continuing post-divorce custody and money battles between him and Christine. The court had already made requests for paperwork from Kody's attorneys weeks earlier, namely information on property ownership, recent transfers of assets, and beneficiaries on trust accounts tied to Coyote Pass, and for weeks, there was nothing. Quiet. Stall, typical Kody. But Christine's attorneys, they weren't playing any longer. They came ready, with receipts, property transfers, mortgage records, and surprise, an authenticated, time-stamped copy of that legacy file. According to one witness seated 2 rows behind the legal tables, the room fell utterly silent when Christine's attorney stated, "Your Honor, we have evidence indicating the respondent willfully misrepresented ownership of several properties, joint ownership, and those hidden in trust." And right then, to everybody's surprise, Kody lost it. He reportedly stood up without being called upon, loud, mouthing and accusing Christine of faking dead paperwork against him. Witnesses say he shouted, "They don't even know what's in that file. You're letting her lie to the court." Now, here's the part that no one expected. The bailiff approaches. The judge says something very quiet. It's hard to hear on the room mics, and 2 deputies step forward. Kody's attorney tries to intercept, says something about clarification, but the judge cuts him off. This is now a contempt review. Mr. Brown is to be escorted back when the hearing resumes. Arrested, number but held, 100%. He was taken out of the courtroom and brought into custody, not due to violence, even for criminal allegations, never mind. Although, in the judge's own words, his conduct may impair the court's capacity to proceed without bias. So while Kody is now literally in custody, sweating, intense with anger, and spinning, Christine and her entourage drop the actual bombshell on the court. The legacy file is not only about property, it is about beneficiaries, custody, and an underground contract between Christine and Meri that can legally vest them with assets Kody believed he had already stashed away. Also, what is coming next? A history of dishonesty dating back nearly a decade, and proof that— Hello besties, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is one that literally left me with no words. If you believe the drama between Kody, Robyn, and the rest of Sister Wives was done, think again, because what just happened inside a Utah courtroom might be the biggest turning point in the entire saga. I've been covering this story for years, and my gut told me something was off when Kody started pushing back against Christine's post-divorce filings. But none of us saw this coming. Kody Brown supposedly being held in court during a custody hearing that went utterly off the rails. Now, before you assume this is some sort of miscommunication, let me just say this didn't happen out of nowhere. This has been simmering for months, under the radar. Behind all those manufactured smiles and reality television confessionals. And what is even more surprising, Christine and Meri, two women who haven't publicly spoken of each other in more than a year, are now connected by an enigmatic legacy file that could reveal all the Brown family attempted to keep under wraps. I know, it sounds crazy, but stay with me, because in this video we're diving deep into the court documents, the financial trail, and the hidden power struggle that may have led to Kody's alleged arrest right in front of the judge. Let's start from the beginning. You see, back in April of 2025, when Christine finalized the last of her financial settlements, something unusual appeared in the county filing system. A locked document titled Legacy Beneficiaries Agreement. Brown Family Holdings. The timing convenient, the intention unclear. And who are the names on that document? Christine and Meri Brown. Not Robyn, not Janelle, and certainly not Kody. So why would Christine and Meri, two ladies that Kody constantly insisted were out of the family, pop up on the very same legal paper mere months in advance of his financial disclosure hearing? That is where things begin to fall apart. Because from my sources, this legacy file wasn't solely about money. It was about ownership of land assets and possibly something even more powerful: evidence. Evidence that, once exposed, could have rewritten everything the public thought it knew about Kody's control over the Sister Wives empire. And the moment that evidence was about to be entered into the record, that's when everything in that courtroom went completely off the rails. So let's talk about what actually happened inside that courtroom. Because according to multiple public attendees, and I've now confirmed this with court-adjacent sources who spoke under condition of anonymity, Kody Brown didn't just show up angry. He showed up defensive, cornered, and honestly, sort of out of control. This was going to be routine pre-trial review, one of the continuing post-divorce custody and money battles between him and Christine. The court had already made requests for paperwork from Kody's attorneys weeks earlier, namely information on property ownership, recent transfers of assets, and beneficiaries on trust accounts tied to Coyote Pass, and for weeks, there was nothing. Quiet. Stall, typical Kody. But Christine's attorneys, they weren't playing any longer. They came ready, with receipts, property transfers, mortgage records, and surprise, surprise, an authenticated, time-stamped copy of that legacy file. According to one witness seated 2 rows behind the legal tables, the room fell utterly silent when Christine's attorney stated, "Your Honor, we have evidence indicating the respondent willfully misrepresented ownership of several properties, joint ownership, and those hidden in trust." And right then, to everybody's surprise, Kody lost it. He reportedly stood up without being called upon, loud, mouthing and accusing Christine of faking dead paperwork against him. Witnesses say he shouted, "They don't even know what's in that file. You're letting her lie to the court." Now, here's the part that no one expected. The bailiff approaches. The judge says something very quiet. It's hard to hear on the room mics, and 2 deputies step forward. Kody's attorney tries to intercept, says something about clarification, but the judge cuts him off. This is now a contempt review. Mr. Brown is to be escorted back when the hearing resumes. Arrested, number but held, 100%. He was taken out of the courtroom and brought into custody, not due to violence, even for criminal allegations, never mind. Although, in the judge's own words, his conduct may impair the court's capacity to proceed without bias. So while Kody is now literally in custody, sweating, intense with anger, and spinning, Christine and her entourage drop the actual bombshell on the court. The legacy file is not only about property, It is about beneficiaries, custody, and an underground contract between Christine and Meri that can legally vest them with assets Kody believed he had already stashed away. Also, what is coming next? A history of dishonesty dating back nearly a decade and proof that financial freeze order from the court. And best believe, Christine's attorney came with documentation. We're talking notarized deeds, trust filings, and a digital trail of wire transfers that point to a coordinated financial shift, the name of the trust. Silver Bison Holdings, LLC, a shell company that was formed early in 2024, mere months after Christine had submitted her revised support claim. Now Silver Bison does not show up in any of the sister wives scenes, and it was never talked about on camera. But by county records from out of Arizona, 3 Coyote Pass lots were transferred under its ownership, with a trustee being named R.L. Brown. And in case you're wondering, yes, that's Robyn. Robyn Lynn Brown. So let's break this down like we're Christine's paralegal. Kody orchestrated property transfers into a newly formed trust under Robyn's name. The transfers occurred after Christine filed for full custody and requested a freeze on asset movement. The trust received over $800,000 worth of land without public listing or purchase records. No funds were exchanged between Kody and the trust, indicating a paper gift, a classic sign of asset shielding. And here's the kicker. When they traced the deed transfers, the notary on file was also the same notary who handled Kody and Robyn's $1.6 million mortgage back in 2023. If that sounds too convenient, it is. Christine's attorney called it out in court. This is an orchestrated transfer of value under the guise of a marital trust, timed precisely to avoid judgment exposure. Translation? Kody was transferring assets to Robyn to make himself appear broke, just in time for child support calculations. That is equity stripping, besties. And when you add in Meri's covert audio recording, the picture emerges. Kody was making a financial illusion, minimizing his reported net worth, maximizing debt, and reclassifying property, so that when the court reviewed his finances, they'd believe he was a struggling father, not a clever manipulator. But here is the kicker. Because Christine and Meri didn't simply bring the legacy file. They brought an updated version, and this one has a provision that could allow them to reclaim those assets through a trust dispute motion. If the judge permits it, Robyn could be required to show she didn't take possession of the land as part of an intentional avoidance, or risk having the trust declared invalid altogether. And who do you think might have helped establish that trust? That trust, it wasn't established by Robyn or Kody themselves. It was established through an outside financial advisor headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona. And besties, this guy's name is Michael R. Dalton. So, who is Michael Dalton? To the general public, he is a mid-tier wealth manager who focuses on estate sheltering, land trust conservation, and high net worth portfolio protection. But to Christine's attorneys, he is the missing link. Here is how they found him. In discovery, Christine's lawyer subpoenaed metadata from 2 digital deeds that are related to Coyote Pass parcels and supposedly remained under Kody's name. But buried in that metadata was an email forwarding address attached to a digital signing service that contained the domain @daltonwealthpartners.com. That email domain belongs to Michael Dalton's company. Then, using a public business registration database, Christine's group connected Dalton to 4 other trusts in the area, all of them created between 2023 and 2024. All of them named things like Hollow Ridge Family Holdings, East Canyon Legacy Trust, and yes, Silver Bison Holdings. But here is where the tale shifts from questionable to devious. When Christine's group filed a background affidavit, they included sworn testimony from a former Dalton Wealth Partners employee, who said that Kody Brown was a high-priority client, and that Robyn was designated as sole beneficiary on all land conservation documents. Translation: they weren't hiding property alone. They were concealing it in the name of environmental land preservation, which includes huge tax savings and loopholes in the law. And here comes the kicker. Christine's lawyer informed the judge, "We are evaluating whether or not these trusts were created with intent to defraud potential child support or spousal support." Let me repeat that, intent to defraud. That moves Kody into a whole different league. Not merely a bitter ex, not merely a controlling spouse, but someone skillfully utilizing trust law and tax exemptions to sidestep court-ordered support for his own children. So, who is the true mastermind? Was it Kody, or was it Robyn? Let's discuss the money, because what Christine's team discovered next could be the most damaging financial crumb ever in this whole case. Remember that trust we discussed in Part 6. Silver Bison Holdings LLC supposedly formed to hide land and restrict Kody's support obligations. Well, Christine's forensic accountant tracked a series of wire transfers originating from Robyn's personal bank account heading straight into Silver Bison's operating fund. We're talking multiple transfers over several months, ranging from $8,000 to $50,000 with coded payment descriptions such as home consolidation, equity recovery, and this one's crazy CP debt swap. Now, for those of us who are not literate in real estate and asset speak, let me break it down. CPT stands for Coyote Pass, in almost all internal filings tied to the Brown family's land records. So a wire with the label CP debt swap suggests that money was being shuffled around to play tricks with the debt status of one or more parcels at Coyote Pass. And here is the kicker. In ordinary times, a spouse shuffling money into a trust they benefit from isn't against the law. But when the money is shuffled in expectation of a legal support judgment, and it is part of an attempt to decrease the appearance of net worth, that's textbook concealment, and courts take that very, very seriously. Christine's attorney stated in open court, "We believe these transfers were designed to artificially increase reported liabilities and reduce the appearance of liquid assets," which is just a fancy way of saying Robyn was helping Kody look poorer than he actually was, so the court wouldn't force him to pay more in child support, back spousal compensation, or asset division. But it gets worse, because according to internal bank summaries submitted by Christine's team and later entered into court record, some of those wires were followed by purchases, not repayments. We're talking a $27,000 art acquisition to Mercedes-Benz lease deposits and a $14,000 payment to a Scottsdale jewelry designer. Let that sink in. Now that Christine is getting ready to submit court filings to help substantiate her daughter Kody and Robyn are purchasing cars, diamonds, and high-end paintings, and concealing the paper trail using a family trust. All of this is going on right before our eyes during Christine's support hearings. So while Kody's stuck in a holding room, maybe watching this play out via legal liaison updates, Christine's case gains strength. Because now the judge isn't just examining a custody battle, he is examining a possible premeditated attempt to cheat the court. And the next piece of evidence? Elizabeth could be the one that completely ties the trust, the money, the land, and Robyn's complete involvement. If you figured Robyn could still have reasonable deniability, like perhaps she had no idea what Kody was up to behind her back, that theory got incinerated. Because Christine's lawyers got their hands on a string of emails that purportedly tie Robyn directly into the asset transfer plan. Let me take you through what they discovered. These emails were revealed via court-approved subpoena of the communications of Dalton Wealth Partners, specifically any strings relating to the Brown family trusts. And one of those strings, dated the 12th of February 2024, 1 month before the so-called land transfer to the Silver Bison Holdings Trust. Here is what the subject line stated. We're land trust setup, CP parcels and positioning, CP parcels positioning. They were literally planning out the reallocation of Coyote Pass land and attempting to legitimize it. Now, in one of those email responses, Robyn supposedly writes, "We need to ensure this gets protected prior to the next hearing. It is crucial the titles are clean and not traceable. Michael mentioned this form will keep it separate from Christine's motion. Isn't that right?" Let me repeat that. Not traceable. That is not only shady, it is incriminating, because it proves intent. It reveals Robyn wasn't merely acutely aware of what was going on. She was actively attempting to prevent Christine from getting access to the assets. And not just a single one-off message either. Along a 14-email exchange, Robyn seems to approve Silver Bison being set up, confirm her own name as managing trustee, and ask specific wording be inserted into the trust charter so that it does not trigger asset review under standard family court subpoenas. Christine's lawyer took all of this to court. And do you know how the judge responded? He ordered an immediate in camera review. meaning he's reviewing the emails privately, outside of public record, to determine whether or not the evidence represents intentional fraud, and whether it justifies a formal motion for sanctions. Yes, sanctions. That could mean fines, reversal of the trust transfers, or even referral to state authorities for financial misconduct. Robyn may have gone from the obedient wife's narrative to being an active co-conspirator in shielding assets, all to avoid giving Truly and Christine what they're legally owed. And as the judge closed that day's hearing, he made it clear: if this correspondence proves material misrepresentation to the court, future filings may be referred for investigation. We've gone from courtroom drama to a potential civil fraud case. Outright besties. So we followed the trusts, the emails, and now it's time to follow the money. Because even while Christine was battling for fair custody and support, Kody and Robyn were allegedly bleeding cash, not on needs, but on wants. Luxuries, things that reek of desperation and ego. And guess what? Christine's forensic accountant laid out a total expense breakdown, and the breakdown is stunning. In a 9-month span, up to the most recent court hearing, Robyn and Kody allegedly racked up more than $320,000 on non-necessity high-end purchases. Let me just break it down for you. $112,000 on art, bought through 2 upscale galleries in Sedona. One bill revealed a single-framed canvas for $26,400, categorized as limited series face spirits of the ancients. $88,000 towards 2 Mercedes-Benz leases, both of which were registered under Silver Bison Holdings, which is strange since the trust is meant to be a passive land entity. $37,000 in jewels, including a Cartier bracelet, 2 Rolex watches, and a ring that Robyn was seen wearing during Instagram Live back in April. $15,000 to a custom trailer outfitter, which insiders say is attached to a vintage Airstream Kody had brought over to the Flagstaff house. $11,400 on sculptures and artwork from a designer home gallery. That one receipt actually stated, "Client requested immediate install to display full wall pieces before summer guests arrive." And all of this while Kody was at the same time filing court forms stating that he couldn't come up with a proposed support increase because his available cash had been depleted. But that is still not the most fishy part. Christine's team picked up that none of these purchases appeared in Kody's personal bank account activity. Rather, the funds were derived from a joint line of credit in Robyn's name, transfers from Silver Bison Holdings, checking accountant in one instance, a Venmo business profile under a Brown Family Logistics LLC, so Kody says he is broke. Robyn's trust is spending money on art, automobiles, and jewelry. And somehow money is moving through 3 different entities, all of which seem to exist outside court-ordered disclosures. Christine's lawyer nailed it. "Your Honor, this isn't bad accounting. It is planned depletion of resources, executed while aware that a money decision was outstanding. It is as if Kody and Robyn were on some sort of shopping spree to prevent Christine and Truly from seeing a penny. And let's not forget, every dollar spent was a dollar that could have been used for support, for college, toward legal fairness. Approaching instead, wall art and diamond jewelry. This is the time the courtroom fell silent. Christine's lawyer called the next witness to the stand. And it wasn't a lawyer, a paralegal, or a forensic expert. It was a family member, unknown, who had lived in the house on Flagstaff. Unknown who had witnessed what Truly went through when the cameras weren't rolling. And as they put up their hand and promised to tell the truth, I knew this wasn't legal strategy alone. This was about safeguarding a child. The witness? Anonymously taped on the public record as Jane Doe, but insiders soon verified it was a brown child. What did this individual reveal on the record? Undefined, it was sad. According to her testimony, Truly was hardly addressed on visitations with Kody and Robyn. Undefined, she was treated like a guest, not a daughter. Jason ignored, there was no routine, no personal space, no connection, and the sleeping arrangements worse than we anticipated. The witness explained. A spare bedroom with an outside-only entry with a malfunctioning door, lock and definito access to the bathroom, without going around the outside of the house, a floor fold, out bed, no nightstand, and one lamp that is plugged into an extension cord. No window curtains, just a narrow sheet held in place with pushpin sand. Keep in mind, this is in a home with 5 bedrooms, paintings on all of the walls, and luxury furnishings in every room. True's response, undefined a testimony. She cried the second night and asked to go back to her mom's. She told her she didn't belong there. But the creepiest part. Undefined Robyn instructed her to stop drama to undefined it if she wanted to be with this family again. She had to accept change. And Kody, undefined, how did he treat her, according to the witness? He hardly talked to her. He spent the majority of time holed up in his office with the door closed, or out in the garage tinkering with his trailer. It never had anything to do with custody. It never had anything to do with parenting. It had to do with control. Christine's lawyers utilized this testimony to create a clear image for the judge. Kody's battle over custody was not about Truly's welfare. It was a legal strategy to stall financial disclosures and push Christine into a rushed settlement. And let's get real, it worked. For a little while, because now that this testimony is out, there is no turning back. The judge called for an instant guardian ad litem review. Truly now has her own court, appointed representative. There alone indicates the court is now weighing if there were conditions of neglect or emotional abuse. And with that insight, one thing was made clear. This case is not financial anymore. It is personal. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Christine dropped one last clause from the legacy file, the one Kody had no idea about. It is the ultimate surprise Kody never saw, and the provision that could potentially turn the whole Coyote Pass scenario on its head. So let's go back for a sec. Remember that secret legacy file Christine and Meri created back in 2021? We already know it contained a private revenue sharing agreement, a provision confirming their equal share in specific Brown family holdings, and most recently, a taped call implicating Kody in asset sheltering. But what wasn't disclosed until today was a hidden provision on page 7 entitled Beneficiary Override and Reclamation Provision. Yeah, that sounds like lawyer talk. But here is what it actually says. If any Brown family property, jointly or separately owned, gets passed on to a third party, including spouses, without unanimous cosign from all of the original Coyote Pass stakeholders, then Christine and Meri have legal rights to petition for full or partial ownership to be restored. If Kody transferred Coyote Pass land into Robyn's trust without co-signing from Meri or Christine, which all of the public deeds verify he did, then they can make a formal reclamation request to withdraw it. It is like a legal trapdoor Kody never even knew was there. And why would Christine and Meri include this clause? Because they read the writing on the wall. They knew if Kody ever attempted to cut them out behind closed doors, they'd have to have a means of clawing back what belonged to them, even if it had already been moved on paper. This wasn't only intelligent, it was strategic warfare. So now what? Christine's group officially motioned the court for a reclamation review of all Coyote Pass parcels presently owned by Silver Bison Holdings, a comprehensive financial audit of the source of funds of the trust, and a court-approved valuation of the loss incurred through illegal transfer of merit. All property if allowed, this might lead to the land being redivided or retuned, Robyn's trust being terminated, fining Kody for misrepresentation, and Christine and Meri getting away with the controlling shares in Coyote Pass. Let that percolate. Kody's whole scheme to lock up the land for himself and Robyn down the drain. Years of plotting destroyed by one clause, slipped into place in 2021. And do you want the most poetic part? Kody initialed this clause into 021. Sources indicate he didn't even read the entire document. He was assured it was just a backup agreement to make Meri and Christine feel secure during tax restructuring. He signed it, he handed them the weapon. And now they've pulled the pin. But that is not the knockout punch, because before court adjourned, Christine made a formal declaration, one which could result in criminal charges being brought. This is where things go from sketchy to potentially criminal. As court was getting ready to adjourn for the day, with Kody still in custody, and Robyn visibly shaken by what had just transpired, Christine's legal team did something that nobody expected them to do. They filed a formal declaration, sworn, signed, and filed, accusing Kody of numerous breaches of previous court orders and asking the court to impose sanctions and refer the issue for criminal review. Now, this isn't the sort of move lawyers make lightly, but after all that had just come to light, the trust documents, the email leaks, the anonymous child testimony, and the clandestine legacy file clause, Christine wasn't merely fighting for equality anymore. She was calling for justice. breach of the standing protective order. Kody had been subject to a court-issued freeze prohibiting sale or transfer of jointly owned property, any transfer of funds over $25,000 without prior approval, setting up new financial entities without court disclosure. However, the trust records revealed real estate was assigned to Silver Bison Holdings. Jewelry and luxury goods were bought through lines of credit. Several shell LLCs were formed after the freeze. Contempt of court. Willful noncompliance. Christine's lawyer contended Kody willfully disregarded court directives by concealing trust formation intention. Ali withholding required financial disclosures, failing to report real estate activities to the court. Evidence consists of undisclosed bank accounts, delayed subpoena compliance timelines, spurious statements contained in sworn affidavits, potential perjury. One of the largest red flags. Kody submitted a sworn affidavit in June 2025, stating he was aware of no recent property transfers. However, the emails exchanged between Robyn and the trust advisor, which addressed him directly by name, dispute that assertion. If it is proven false, that is perjury, and in Utah, that is a third-degree felony with a penalty of up to 5 years in prison. Christine's affidavit didn't pull any punches. These repeated acts indicate a pattern of deception and disdain for court authority. Mr. Brown is not a reality television star. He is to be treated like any other citizen who is trying to mislead this court. And with that, the courtroom became quiet. The judge ended the session with one last statement. All motions will be considered under expedited terms. The court will decide whether contempt proceedings and monetary sanctions are warranted. The criminal referral will be evaluated once the in-camera documents are reviewed. In other words, this isn't finished. Not by a long shot. And, though Kody was in a holding room for the day, when he returns, he might not be up against his ex-wife. He might be up against the state of Utah. But Christine's not finished, because in her last statement to the court before it adjourned, she addressed truly directly, and what she had to say could possibly be the most remarkable moment of this whole saga. Besties, after day of courtroom drama, legal battles, financial surprises, and tearful testimony, the judge provided Christine one last chance to speak. And what did she say? It stunned the whole courtroom. This wasn't Christine, the reality television star. This wasn't Christine, the ex-wife. This was Christine, the mother. She rose from her chair, glanced in the direction of the gallery, where a court-appointed advocate for truly sat, and spoke to the court herself. This fight wasn't ever about money with me. It wasn't ever about revenge. It was always about protection and clarity and legacy. For my daughter, she breathed in. Her voice was shaking, but she didn't stop. Deserved a father who had room for her, not just physically, but emotionally. She deserved a blanket, a nightlight, room. She deserved to feel safe, heard, seen. And when that didn't work, I decided to be the parent who would fight for her, even if it meant going to war in court. You could hear sniffling in the courtroom. Christine went on. When Kody rolled the money around, when he sold the land, when he hired lawyers on me instead of sending support checks, I remained silent. I didn't want to make this into a public show. But that silence ends today. She then held up a physical copy of the legacy file, her and Mary's masterstroke. This document isn't about property. It's about promises. It is a testament to what women can accomplish when they decide not to be silenced, not to be erased. Christine's gaze shifted to the judge next. And to you, the court. All I request is that you grant my daughter what she was denied within those walls. Fairness. And then one more sentence, brief. Horrific. If I don't stand up for her now, she'll live the rest of her life believing she wasn't worth fighting for. That was it. The judge stopped. There was complete silence. Even the opposing attorney didn't object. Christine sat down. And in that instant, the whole courtroom knew it. This wasn't merely a custody hearing. This was a reckoning. A reckoning of years of imbalance, of secret transfers, of bogus equity and genuine pain. A reckoning for each bedroom truly never received and each lie that was hidden beneath a trust. And though no verdict was given that day, the tone had been changed. Christine didn't just make a legal case, she made a moral one. And that, more than any document, any email, or any recording, might be the thing that ultimately brings Kody Brown to justice. So besties, what next? After everything that unfolded, Kody's removal from court, the legacy file bombshell, the secret emails, the trust scandal, and Christine's heart-shattering closing statement, you'd think the story was over, but this was merely a prelude to an even greater reckoning. Shortly after the hearing adjourned, the court issued an asset freeze to all trust accounts linked to Silver Bison Holdings and Brown Family Logistics. Robyn's name was temporarily withdrawn from trust control pending audit. The judge ordered a special contempt hearing for Kody with potential criminal referral if the perjury and protective order violations are proven. A guardian ad litem was formally appointed to Truly, who now enjoys full legal representation in all financial and custody matters from here on out. Kody didn't return to the courtroom that day. Sources report he departed the courthouse under security escort, evading press, slipping into a black SUV with tinted windows. No comment, no apology, no responsibility. As for Christine, she departed head held high, flanked by her attorneys, carrying nothing but a frayed leather folder, the very same one she has been spotted with in previous court documents. That folder, it contains the legacy file, the file that turned the entire power base of the Brown family upside down. Meri, although absent from court, released a public statement later in the evening. I wasted years second-guessing my gut. Years giving someone the benefit of the doubt who never deserved it. That ends now. Legacy isn't about property. It is about how we make the next generation stronger than we found them. And that may have been the most Meri thing she has ever said. Undefined a quiet intero procure a default strong number undefinition resolute. With multiple hearings now in the books and the possibility of state-level investigation, Kody and Robyn are in legal quicksand. If found in contempt, Kody could be fined into six-figure. His trust activity could be undone, leaving him with nothing put into Robyn's name. And yes, criminal prosecution is still an option if perjury can be established. Christine and Truly, undefined at last possess something they have not had for years: stability, undefined protection, undefined power and besties. As new seasons of Sister Wives continue to air, pay attention, because what you are viewing on the show, Undefined, it is already outdated. It is a tightly controlled story, but what is going down in court, that is the story. Bottom line. So stay alert, watch how Robyn attempts to stifle the conversation. Listen for what Kody doesn't say, because all of what they're doing at this point is damage control. To everyone who thought Christine was reacting too strongly, to everyone who labeled Meri bitter, and to everyone who thought Kody would never lose his head. This case is the evidence. The legacy file existed. The fraud existed. The struggle was worth it. And if this is what they've done in broad daylight, imagine what is still concealed behind the scenes. What do you think of Kody and Robyn's downfall? Undefined, you think criminal charges will be filed? Undefined, what do you think Christine should do next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button to support Christine and Truly. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next breakdown. Because I promise you, we're just getting started. Thanks for watching. Besties, stay smart. Undefined, stay strong. And never let anyone steal your legacy. Undefined, bye for now.